Hello, everyone, and welcome to CPA Academy. My name is Christopher, and I am so happy to welcome you into today's webinar on QuickBooks Advanced Reporting Part 2, Commission Reports. Our presenter today is Marjorie Adams, and before we get started, I wanted to go through some housekeeping items and do some quick technical checks to make sure everything is working. So first, if you don't mind, find the GoToWebinar's control panel. This is located on the right-hand side of your screen. Find the horizontal bar labeled questions and open that up. In this panel, if you can, let me know you can hear the sound of my voice. You can see the slides that Marjorie has up on the screen for you. And as always, let us know where you're listening in from this morning. And we're starting to see some responses pour in. Thank you. We are excited to see each and every one of you taking time out of your day to spend with us. Now, if you're having any technical trouble, let us know in this same questions panel, and keep in mind there are quite a few of you on our webinar this morning, only one of me, and I will do my absolute best to get around to each and every one of you as quickly as possible. Now, if any of you have any questions that you'd like to direct to Marjorie throughout the presentation today, this will be the same panel where you can post those as well. And now that we know things are working, let's talk about our credits. This is a 1-hour webinar and qualifies for a 1 CPE credit. And the way you earn that CPE credit, as always, is straightforward. Just stay logged in for 50 minutes of our allotted time, which is 60 minutes, and answer our poll questions. We'll have a total of 4 polls during today's webinar. And in order to earn full credit, you'll need to answer at least 3 of those polls. Now, if you find yourself having trouble submitting a poll question or you can't see the poll, simply refresh your browser or make sure it's not behind another window like your handouts. And even if you miss one, we always include an extra poll at the end just in case it's already baked in for you. Now, your CPE will be issued by the end of the day today and will be in your CPA Academy account. And we're also recording today's webinar, and that archived recording will be made available to you by the end of the day as well. And lastly, take some time to download today's handout presentation PDF, which is in the handouts section at the bottom of your control panel, and you can use that to follow along with the presentation itself. Now that we're all set, let's turn our webinar over to our presenter. Marjorie, the floor is all yours.
Thank you so much. Thank you to CPA Academy, as always, for hosting our webinar today. So this is the second part in our QuickBooks Enterprise Advanced Reporting series. I did an initial webinar on the process a couple weeks ago on how to design a custom report and things to consider when you are designing your reports or setting up your template reports. My goal for you today is to get your mind to start thinking about what is possible, right? As with our last webinar. A lot of times we limit ourselves to what we know or what we've seen, but I want you to think about, can this be done? Can I get to this information? Can I get to this report? And I would love if today throughout the webinar, if you have any ideas of a can we, please share them in the chat. That would be awesome. Okay, so let's progress through these entry slides quickly because they always make me nervous. I'm Marjorie Adams. I own and operate the consulting firm Fourlane. I personally am located outside of Austin, Texas. However, we are a 100% remote firm, and we always have been a remote firm from day one. So we have 65 employees now, located across 13 states. My personal passion is to educate and empower as many people as possible, right? Get data to people so that they can make decisions. I work hard at our core value. One of our core values here at Fourlane is do it better by continuing to learn so that we can provide elevated business process and strategy to our clients. There are a lot of terms thrown around in the industry currently, so I don't always know what to call our firm. We're not a CPA firm. We're not an IT firm. So we focus more around change management, managed consulting, workflow consulting possibly. There's all these terms that are thrown around right now. So hopefully these slides will help explain a little bit better who we are. So what makes Fourlane unique? We've been the #1 QuickBooks solution provider, or QuickBooks VAR, since 2010. We also manage and implement ERP product conversions and implementations in Acumatica. We are experts in systems and accounting. So I did not realize that this is something, and especially this when it comes to reporting, this really matters a lot. Understanding how to speak debits and credits, and understanding what is going to be the financial impact in the system, and then also knowing the tables, the cells, and how they relate to each other. That is a really big part of being able to build these kind of reports in QuickBooks Advanced Reporting. So here at Fourlane, we are experts in accounting and systems. We're also project managers for change management. So when clients are going through a change, that's when we want them to give us a call. Here at Fourlane, we have a proven process called Drive. So we do a deep discovery with the customers. We right fit them in the right product. We make sure we inform them of what it's going to take to get them to their end goal, a full and complete project plan, obviously go through the implementation and then endless execution, because what we found is that, a lot of times when people are converting from other systems into QuickBooks, they get in and, they have their reports from their other systems that they're used to seeing, and they want to set those reports up in QuickBooks when they get moved over. But then also we get them access to new data that they didn't have before because of the way that we structured their setup. And what that allows us to do is come back after a period of time and say, okay, now what do we need to report on? Now what do we need to report on, right? Business changes frequently, so we want to stay engaged throughout. Here at Fourlane, we have a formula to our success. So we do a lot of different offerings, all geared towards getting our customers data to make decisions. Data is key to everything. And of course, when we're talking about reporting, we have to understand the data that's being reported on. We have to understand the filters that we have set up. We have to understand where the data is coming from. And we're going to talk a lot about that today. Okay, so today what we're going to cover is on my last webinar, I was just saying this morning, on my last webinar, they said, get to the reports faster. So we're going to start straight diving into a report, and we're going to look at commissions by job report first and use that report to kind of start to break down what are the filters that are available, what are the expressions and dimensions, which are major parts of building a report in QuickBooks Advanced Reporting. And then we're going to look at a couple of additional reports towards the end, commissions by net job profitability, and then also a tiered commissions report, meaning, if you hit X marker, then you get a bump, right, in your commissions because you went above and beyond what we expected of you. Our learning objections today. We want you to be able to walk away and describe a commission report layout possible when using QuickBooks Advanced Reporting. So talk about what is possible on the dashboard. And then also to be able to define how dimensions and expressions impact custom reports. All right, before I get into what is QBAR here, I'm going to go ahead and launch our first poll. How will you use this information? So it's always fascinating to me to see what people are doing with the information that we give them. All right. And I wonder too if anybody has ever built a report in QuickBooks Advanced Reporting. That would be something interesting to know too. If you've ever built one, I would love to see that in chat, what you've created, or your clients have built one too. What did they create, right? It's always interesting to see how people get there. How do they, or what data are they needing to run their company, right? That's one of the most interesting parts to me of sitting down with businesses when we do our discovery with them. What data do you need to run your business? So if anybody out there has done those reports, please drop that in chat too. That would be amazing. Okay, me go ahead and close this poll here and share the results with you guys. So it looks like a lot of people are doing it for their own knowledge today. So I hope you have a lot of takeaways for that. Some people to train clients and then also to implement in their own business. So very cool. And let me go ahead and hide that slide. All right. What is QuickBooks Advanced Reporting? So I'm not going to spend a lot of time in the slide deck today. I'm not a big PowerPoint person. I like being in product as much as possible. But I just want to make sure to cover a little bit here, and then we'll hop on over in product. So QuickBooks Advanced Reporting is a business intelligence or BI reporting tool that was released in QuickBooks 14 and 15. Right now we're in QuickBooks Enterprise 21. So it was released a while back. But I have not seen or heard a tremendous amount of accounting firms or end user clients using these tools that are available in products. We want to make sure to get the word out there. What it does is it draws data from an existing QuickBooks database and allows a user to create interactive reports and dashboards with that data. So Advanced Reporting sits on top of your QuickBooks file, which is what we're going to look at here in a minute, so that running the report does not disrupt users. Okay? And you're not going to get that pop-up that says something is in use, so you can't do the thing, right? It pulls all the data into a separate database. It is also a reporting tool that allows a user to customize existing template reports, or you can create your own reports from scratch. So here at Fourlane, we created some template reports beyond what comes standard in QuickBooks for our QuickBooks Enterprise customers or the enterprise customers who renew through us. And so if anybody needs to take advantage of that, definitely let us know. So again, operates outside the QuickBooks file. The reporting engine is QlikView. Okay. And QlikView is a product kind of similar to like a Tableau or a Grow.com or something like that. It's just a reporting engine where the data gets pulled into so that we can build those reports and dashboards. The connection is the ODBC connection, Open Database Connectivity, to pull the data and it caches it in the QBAR area in the QlikView database. So what that means is every time you open up Advanced Reporting, it's going to ask you, would you like to refresh your data, right? So if you've just gone in and put in a bill, you have to make sure that you refresh your data if you want that bill to be reflected in your QBAR report. Okay. And then I just included in here a couple of the file extensions. The QBT file is used for standard reports. QBW file is used for any customized reports. And the most important one is the QBAR file, because that's a template that can be moved from file to file. If you've created a dashboard that you like in one file, you can export that template and send it to another file, which is awesome, right? You don't have to recreate. Okay. All right, so let's go ahead over in product. So inside of QuickBooks Enterprise here, right, to get to Advanced Reporting, you're going to go up to Reports and down to the Advanced Reporting button here. QuickBooks Advanced Reporting is available in all versions of QuickBooks Enterprise, Silver, Gold, Platinum, and Diamond Edition. Okay. Now, one thing to note is you do have to be in multi-user mode. It'll prompt you if you're not in multi-user mode, but that's because it's pulling data from the database, right, from the QuickBooks database into the QlikView database. Down below here, you can see that I have a separate icon for the Advanced Reporting, which I already have open. And so it does run separately. I can actually close out of the QuickBooks file entirely if I chose to and just run the QBAR report once I have updated it with live data. So pretty cool stuff there. Okay, as I promised, we're going to go right into a report right away. So the first one we're going to look at here is our commissions by sales report. Oh, there we go. Okay. And I have tried to make it as clear as possible here, but I'm going to move some stuff around as well. So what are we looking at today? We're looking at a report that is giving us a commission output based on total revenues or total income. Okay. Down the left side here, I have all of my filters that I have decided are necessary on my reporting dashboard. So the first box is our current filters. Okay, this would be showing any filters that we have set already, but right now it's blank because I haven't done anything yet. The second box here is our date period. Okay, so I have start date and end date. Now I'm in a sample file, so it thinks it's 2025. So if I click in here, notice that I have, oops, sorry, I can click in here and change the date to 2028 as an example. And then it'll update my current filters up top to show and reflect which periods I've chosen. So 1/1/2020 through 12/29/2028. I can also click the drop down here in my filters list, and anything selected in green, right? That is what is being selected. Once it's in the filters box here, current filters box, I can also select by just dragging if I needed to. Okay, now this is going to go way back, so I need to say 2028 again. So date period, we have a start date and end date that we refresh. I have also had customers, want it to be like last month, last week, those kinds of things. So we've been able to do that as well. This report, or this dashboard that we're looking at here, is one of our templated reports that we do give to customers who are QuickBooks Enterprise clients of ours, or who renew QuickBooks Enterprise through Fourlane. So how your clients can take advantage of that is also, if they have QuickBooks Enterprise, they can give you a call and we can help you guys get set up with one of these reports for them too. They have to be in QuickBooks Enterprise, right? Because advanced reporting is only available in the QuickBooks Enterprise product. Okay, coming down to the next box down below here, we have our commission rate. And so again, this commission rate is just something that we've filled in manually. So we have it set. I can change the commission rate to be 0.18 if I want to. And when I update it, it will be reflected on the report there. Okay. This is just a free type field that we've created in order to do calculations. The QuickBooks Advanced Reporting is the only area inside of QuickBooks where we can put in some kind of fixed amount number and use that to do calculations in other columns. Okay, so the commission rate is over there. This, somebody said, I'm having a heart attack. Can you lower it back down to 15%? Yes, I can. How about 13? We'll go lower. I'm just kidding. All right, down below here we have sales rep. Okay, and so I can choose to filter by just one sales rep if I want to, right? Or I can select all the sales reps. I only have 3 sales reps in the sample file, so we have the sales rep picked up there on the screen. Okay, I can. Once I've selected one sales rep, by the way, in the current filters, if I need to clear anything out, I just right-click on the filter and hit clear, and it will reset itself to include everything. Then I have territory down below here. This was something that we've had a lot of clients ask about, is territory, and we utilize the job type field in the customer setup, right? So when you go to customers and you edit a customer, you have the job information and you can add custom job types in here. And so that job type field, right now I have it set as custom design, but the expectation is that if you wanted to track by territory, you would add your territories into the job types and then make sure to add those. And then we could also do filters by job type on this report if we wanted to. Okay. Down below here, we have all the individual customers and jobs. So all of these fields, all of these different filters can be edited, and the size of them can be modified if you want to. They can be positioned in different places. And then once you save it, it will save the template for you. Thank you. And then when you reopen it, it will remember whatever modifications you have made. Okay, so you have to be careful with that, of course, right? You maybe want to do save as, but it's nice that you have the ability and flexibility to move things around. Okay, now coming into the report dashboard itself. What we're looking at, so let me take the sales rep here. So sales rep here down the side is the same as the sales rep filter here that is reflected. That field is a very unique field because there are multiple places where you can pull that field from, right? Sales rep. So when you are inside of QuickBooks, you can actually have the sales rep tied to the customer job. So this is one place you can add the sales rep. But then also on the sales order, but on the invoice, because we're talking about actual sales. On the invoice itself, if your template has it, you can also have the sales rep on the invoice, right? And so what happens is when you create an invoice in QuickBooks, it's going to default fill in for you the sales rep that was set up at the customer or job level. Okay. But on the transaction itself, you have the ability to modify, right? So you have to really be aware, and we talked a lot about this on the previous webinar, you have to really be aware when you're doing your reporting, where am I pulling this information from? Okay. So in this case, where I'm pulling this information from, and we're going to talk about expressions and all that in a minute, is I can see which field is being pulled from. And so the filter here is being pulled from the transactions, sales rep, entity, full name. So we know that the filter is filtering based on the transaction itself. Okay. Which is important, right? We don't want it to filter. I mean, everybody has their way of doing commissions. So that's why there's such a hard time creating off-the-shelf commission apps, because everybody has their own models for commissions. So some people it might be that even though Dave processed the order, right? If this client is Emily's, Emily gets the commission. So it might be that you want to pull it based off the customer. And we can make that modification if we need to. That's just not how this templated dashboard is set up. Okay. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and launch the second poll here, and then I'm going to answer a couple questions because there are a ton of questions coming in. So let me go ahead and launch this. How do you handle your commissions currently? And while I'm looking at that, I'm going to try to answer a couple questions here. Is this available in QBO? No, that is available. This is only QuickBooks Enterprise. Is QB reporting available in other modules? Nope. Okay, so just Enterprise. How do you tag the sales rep in QuickBooks to get to this report? So we just talked about that, right? So it's making sure that the sales rep is on the, in this case, is on the invoice itself. I want to make sure that that is set up there. Do you have to use QuickBooks Payroll to run commission reports? Absolutely not, right? So these reports, we'll talk about again in a little bit, but these reports can be exported to Excel. You know, you could come in and filter. So if I wanted to just send Dave his commissions for the month, I can pop this into Excel or print it out so that Dave can review his own commissions before submitting it over to my payroll company. So you do not need to use QuickBooks Payroll for this. And in fact, this does not filter into QuickBooks Payroll at all. These are just reports, right? So even if you were using QuickBooks Payroll and you needed to give Dave $23,000 in commission, you would have to fill that in on the payroll inside of QuickBooks. All right, let's go ahead and close the poll and share our results. It looks like a lot of people are exporting their data to Excel, right? So we see that all the time. And then having to do some math, some steps to figure it out. So the nice part about using the QuickBooks Advanced Reporting, of course, is going to be that you can set up the template to do the math, the calculations one time, and then you just have to run the reports. Our payroll company handles this. That's amazing. I would love to know which payroll companies handle commissions reporting. And then quite a few people don't use commissions themselves. Okay. All right, back in the dashboard here. Let me remove my filter, clear out my filter, and I'm going to drag this guy over out of the way and make this a little bit, oh, doesn't want to work for me. Okay, well, doesn't want to work for me right now. Maybe if I do this and then, there we go. I'm just going to widen inside of there. There we go. Always fun on the webinars when they act up. Okay, so now what I'd like to do is I'd like to take you through the properties that build this report, right? So how does it get here? We talked about the filters, so now we know which filters are in place when we're looking at this report. But how, and let me just be very clear, you can build filters into the logic in the report here, right? So like, let's say I only wanted to do certain territories. I could restrict the territories in the report. However, when we build our reports for clients, we like to have the filters available so that you can include or exclude things as you want to, right? We might have it default to exclude, but as as much power as you can put into the hands of the person who is utilizing the report, that's like the most important part. So they don't have to call you, well, what happens if I don't want it for custom design and I want it for this other territory, right? So we try to do as many filters as possible. So a lot in our reports, as you'll see, there's going to be a lot of filters down the side here. Okay, what are we looking at? So when we are looking at any kind of report within our dashboard, you can choose to print or export to Excel, right? Just the one report. You can also choose to print the entire dashboard. Okay, so if you wanted to include these graphs on the side over here, or anything like that, you can print the entire dashboard out as well. So I'm going to go into our properties first. And so I'm going to skip dimensions and expressions initially and just talk about the other properties that are available because they're fun, but not as exciting as what dimensions and expressions have here. So the first thing we have general is we can put in our title, we can put in the graph type that we're using, right? So you can see that there's going to be lots of different graph types. It's very similar to how you would set something up in Excel, right? We have our sort order. So each one of these columns, how do we want to sort them? You have the ability to modify that. The presentation, so this is just going to be the alignment of all of the different expressions and dimensions. You know, do we want a wrap header? Do we want to allow for subtotals on the top or the bottom? This is also something that we see quite frequently. Somebody will want to flip it so the subtotal shows up on the top line versus the bottom line. So there's that presentation options there. Visual cues, this is one of my favorite things. It's very cool. So here at Fourlane, we run on a system called Traction. And so all of our employees have weekly metrics that we report against. So as an example, a sales rep has how many QuickBooks Enterprise dollars did they sell this week? And they have their goal, okay? So let's just say their goal is $1,000. So if they hit their goal, then on their scorecard, they have a yellow marker and it puts in $1,000 and it's yellow. If they're below their goal, so let's say $800 this week, then it shows up $800 and red. If they're above their marker, like $1,200, it shows up $1,200 on their scorecard and it reflects green. Okay, so the visual cues, without even having to look at the numbers themselves, are pretty neat that you can set those up in here. So like, let's say that Dave, his overall quota is $150,000. Maybe we want him to show up in green. Okay, but Emily, who also has a goal of $150,000, she would be showing up in red. So you don't even have to dive into the details per se. The tools of using visual cues like that, what's really nice about it is it's very hard to get people to look at reports, right? Especially if they're looking at the reports all the time, but the red, yellow, green makes it so that they don't even have to pay attention to the numbers. Some people aren't numbers people. Red, yellow, green, it's very simple. So visual cues is one that I really like. All right, style, right? So just the background colors and things like that. What is our number setup, right? Are they money? Is it a time? You know, just like Excel, what we're used to seeing. Any font changes that we want to make, okay? What's the layout that we want, right? Do we want it layered, normal, top or bottom? Anyway, so just some, you know, the shadow intensity, what's the background color intensity, the border intensity. So just some little tweaks that are available. And then of course the captions, again, we can do that on the general, but what do we want it to look like at top, and what's the background color up top? Okay. So just some pretty basic things that you can do there. And that's all, you know, visual, how's it going to look? Now let's talk about the actual data, because that's the fun part for me. All this, how's it gonna look? I usually don't care. So dimensions and expressions. So we're gonna start by dimensions, okay? This is the first time that we're gonna see all the cells that are allowed to be filtered by or totaled by inside a QBAR, right? And so these are basically all fields available in QBAR, and there's a ton of them. I'm not gonna go through all of them. However, what's good to know is which tables they're coming from. So the first thing I usually do is I think, okay, sales rep, I'm trying to pull this from a transaction. So I want to go to my transactions table. And they're in alphabetical order, which is nice. So I come down here to my transactions table. Now notice that they do have other tables associated with transactions table, like serial numbers, custom fields, you know, there's other things that are available in there. So you just have to have awareness again of what data am I trying to pull. But by limiting it to the table of transactions, then above here, it just shows me fields that are available from the transaction level. Okay. So I'm trying to pull sales rep. Also very important to remember to think about what the field name is in QuickBooks. Right, because you guys your terminology might be rep or salesperson or CDR or whatever it is. That is not necessarily what it's going to be in QuickBooks, right? You have to think about what the QuickBooks name is. And that can also be quite difficult because in my templates inside of QuickBooks, right, I can change this instead of just saying rep, or it says rep instead of sales rep. So if I go down here and I look through alphabetically and I go into the R's section and there is no rep, right? So then we might want to take a step back and say, what does QuickBooks call this field? Okay, not what do I call this field, but what does QuickBooks call this field? Sales rep. So I already have sales rep, entity, full name, pulled over here, so it's not going to show up on my list over on the side because it's already pulled onto a report. But one thing that I just wanted to point out is that there are two areas that it says sales rep. So it says sales rep list ID, and then it says sales rep entity full name, right? And so what that means is in QuickBooks, anytime you set up a list item or anytime you set up a transaction, the system generates a list ID number or a transaction ID number behind the scenes. You can't really see them inside of QuickBooks. You can see them in other ways. So you don't ever normally want to pull the list ID because it does sound like, oh, is that their name? No, you want to pull the entity full name. That's generally what you want to pull. The list ID is going to be some number that probably means nothing to anybody because you don't have control over that. The system generates it. Okay. So dimensions, as we can see over here, are what we total by. right? So if you've ever done a pivot table or anything like that, and you total, like what are the rows, right? On a pivot table, it says, what are my rows? That's what a dimension is. So if I wanted to, instead, I have, transaction, sales rep, entity, full name. I have transactions, customer name. We have one that's hidden here, transactions, item type. I guess it's hidden. If I wanted to add in something else, or if I wanted the customer full name to be above the sales rep for some reason, I just have to flip those or promote or demote those and apply it. So now it's showing me by job. Now that's not a very effective commissions report, right? But that's how you do it. So if I click on this one, I go back up and promote it, apply. Now it's going to be totaling by sales rep instead. Okay, so inside of QuickBooks, you can't get to multiple levels of subtotals on a report, right? Custom transaction summary report. If I come down in here, I can say display columns by a singular level and display rows by a singular level. By going into advanced reporting here, now we can display rows by multiple levels. Okay. So hopefully that is helpful to understand dimensions. Some of the things that we've seen with dimensions in here, additionally, right, additional ways for people to slice in commissions is we will have potentially a custom field set up at the item level. That is item type. We don't in QuickBooks have an item type really, right? They have inventory part, non-inventory part, but that's not what I mean. But an item class possibly, like its own individual class. Sometimes we'll see people subtotal by item type. Also, we'll see people have varied commission rates depending on the item type. Okay. So if it's item type of class A, then they get 10%. If it's item type of class B, then they get 5%. Okay, these things are possible. But you do have to have the information in QuickBooks somewhere, right? So you have to think about where's that data coming from. Other things that I've seen people add in here is actual class from the transaction, right? So they'll come in, oops, I already have it open over here, it's yelling at me. So if I come in here, right, instead of saying class list ID, I say class list name, add that up, promote it, apply, right? So now it's breaking it out not only by sales rep, but also by class. Okay. So pretty cool things there. So dimensions are how we are going to subtotal. Expressions, however, are what is the data we're looking at? What are the results? Okay. So the first expression that we're looking at on this screen here, I'm going to go back to my dimensions and remove the job for now, just so that you can see more of the expressions now. So my first expression, right, and so these are the columns. When we talk about pivot tables, what is in the different columns of pivot tables? So my first expression are my total sales, okay? And total sales, we have a definition written in here of what does that mean, right? So total sales are all invoices, sales receipts, credit memos, charges, and AR refund credit card credits. Okay. So we had to define what goes into that total sales. And we defined it by transaction type. You can define it by item type as well. The next thing we have is the commission rate, right? And again, this is just a fixed field. So we've created a field in the system that we say is the commission rate. And then we've said, okay, you can fill in a commission rate amount. So this is a multiplier for us. Then the last field here is just, open this up here, total sales. times commission rate. So pretty simple, right, to get to that last field there. But our expressions are our results. So they can be rolled up results, they can be detailed results. You can decide what kind of results you want to see based on the dimensions and then based on what is being added up here in the sales. All right. Hopefully we can understand dimensions and expressions here. I'm going to go ahead and launch our third poll. Which version of QuickBooks do you currently use? Oh my gosh, we have so many questions. If I don't get to your questions today, I will definitely be following up. We'll be following up with you. We might have to set up a time to chat, right? Because with our reports that come standard, anything that comes standard, right? Anything that comes off the shelf, you have to fit into that box. However, so getting the report as being a customer of ours, a QuickBooks Enterprise customer of ours, if you need modifications to this report, like we had one off the last webinar, we did a look at invoices and receiving payments on a report. And they said, we don't use invoices, we use sales receipts. So yes, we can make those modifications in your reports, in your QBAR template. However, to make modifications, right, that's going to be some extra dollars there. So they come standard as is, and then we can do some additional modifications. So we will be reaching out as needed. So there's a lot of different questions in here about that. Can you do this? Which I love these ideas. Can you, oh gosh, there's a lot. Can you recommend an app that can do this with Advanced, QuickBooks Online Advanced? Can you run this based on GL accounts instead of jobs? That's yes. Can you do this with a variable commission rate by service item? So we talked about that a little bit, yes. So lots of good questions coming in. Okay, let me see here. Go ahead and close the poll and share the results. So lots of QuickBooks Online users today, some Pro Premier users as well, QuickBooks Accountant and 18% QuickBooks Enterprise. You know, on my last webinar, we had as many QuickBooks Online as QuickBooks Enterprise, and I was stunned by that. So, all right. Today we have more QuickBooks Online. All right, so let's go back in here. Okay, so looked at a pretty simple one, commissions by total sales. So I'm going to go into a little bit more elaborate one next. So we're going to do commissions by job net profitability instead. I'm not going to save all the changes I did. Okay. So I'm not going to talk about the filters on this report because I hope you guys get an idea of what the filters can be on here already. But let's talk about the meat of the report here. So what we're looking at is same thing, sales rep down the left side. Next is job, okay? We have total sales, so same thing that we were looking at before, but now we have a different column that we've added in called total cost of goods sold. So this is pulling all cost of goods sold items tied to this job. Then we have a column called total expenses. This will be pulling in all expenses tied to this job. My sample report, I don't have expenses. And then we have net profit, right, which is just sales minus COGS minus expenses. Okay, so hopefully everybody can follow along with that. We have had some times where people have job WIP, so we have to factor in some balance sheet accounts, or they have customer deposits that they want to factor in, right? They don't want customer deposits to show up in their sales numbers yet. Or maybe they want the customer, you know, they want it to be more on a cash basis, so they want those customer deposit numbers to show up. So we have modified these reports quite a bit for people for their own unique scenarios. I would love to do a webinar, by the way, in the future around creating commission models and just open it up for people to share, because I feel like people don't talk about that so much. How do they create their commission model? How do they get there? Okay, so then we have our net profit margin. Again, this is just a calculated field. Okay. 42 over 101. Then we have our commission rate, the high commission rate. So somebody's really going to have a heart attack there. Let's get that back down to like 10%. Notice it updates right away. And then we have our commissions earned. So taking that net profit, right? We're doing commissions based off of net profit here. So maybe 25% makes more sense. Not so bad, but that's still a lot. But commissions based off of net profit versus commissions based off of sales. It's pretty cool stuff there. All right. Now, let me go ahead into the last one that I really wanted to look at today, and that's tiering. And I'm going to keep it simple. Don't save. So again, tiering. You know, why would we tier our commissions? With us, it's where do you want to incentivize your sales reps, right? So maybe maybe you're trying to get rid of product at year end, and so you want to, just like when people have blowout sales, they put everything on sale just to turn inventory at year end, something similar. So maybe you give your sales reps some extra spiffs to get them to focus in on a particular product line. For us, when we first launched Acumatica as one of our products that we represent here at Fourlane, we gave our commissions, our reps, an extra bump in their commissions if they were to sell Acumatica versus if they were to sell QuickBooks Enterprise, just to get them motivated and excited to learn the new product line that we're going to be representing. Okay. All right, so tiered commission sales. So this report dashboard has a couple of different things on it. Okay. So first of all, we have our sales rep commission here. So total sales, we do have cost of goods sold that's taken into account here and gets us to our profit margin number, okay? Our gross profit, and I'm sorry, gross profit number, and then our margin. There we go. On the side, we have a different filter here. So we're saying we want their margin. So this is just an example. I'm going to do one more CPE poll, yes. Just saw that pop up. This is just an example, but our margin, right, that we want to maintain is 65%. Okay, so if they are below the 65% margin, they only get 5% commission. If they're above the 65% margin, we have them set at 10% commission. Now, that's probably not realistic to get double, but maybe let's just change that to 0.07. Okay. Now down here, you can see none of the gross profit margins are at 65%. Okay, so they're all set at 5%. So if I were to change this to be, if it's 50%, then they get if it's below 50%, they get 5% commission. If it's above 50% margin, they get 7% commission. Now when I look down here, I see, and I'm not showing total by job anymore, right? I'm just showing total across the board for the sales rep. So Kurt here, his margins, his overall gross profit margin is 58%, which is above that threshold. So he gets a 7% commission rate versus Emily and Dave's 5% commission rate. Okay. So you can have variance thresholds, and those thresholds can be based off of gross margin. They can be based off of sales numbers, right? So give them a carrot. If they go over their quota number by 10% over, they get an extra ½ point, right, in their commissions. That's the other thing that we can have set up in here is we can actually put in what is their quota, right? Just like we can put in what is their commission rate, we can also put in what is their quota and maintain that information in the report if we needed to as well. and do percentages based off of that or calculations based off of that. So it doesn't have to pull total sales number. It could pull in first total quota number, which is just something that we manually input, compared to what their total sales are, and see if they're over under on their quota numbers. Okay. So lots of different areas that we can come up with here. And then when we were talking about earlier with the properties, you know, you can come in here with your visual cues and maybe show them you are in the green. You already hit to give yourself your bump to 7%, so you're good. So Kurt knows everything from this point forward. I am now getting 7% commission versus the 5% commission. Whereas Dave and Emily, maybe, you know, theirs shows up in a, maybe not that color red, but like a light red color. So they know that they're only earning 5% on every sale, and they need to pump that up so they can bump to that 7% margin or 7% commission. Okay, so let me go ahead now into our fourth poll. I asked this one, do you use any of the following attach services with QuickBooks, right? Do you use T-sheets, assisted payroll, Salesforce, maybe none of the above. Wait, last time we had none of the above. So do you use any of the following attached services with QuickBooks? T-sheets obviously was purchased by Intuit a couple years ago, so we have a lot more people using that product now than ever before. Assisted payroll, this is a time of year when everybody changes over payroll. I know. Thanks, Dave. We definitely needed that other, like, nope, don't use any of the above. Anybody who uses Salesforce, Salesforce does have a connector to QuickBooks now, or not Salesforce, it's maintained by a third party to connect from Salesforce to QuickBooks. And then Transaction Pro Importer, a lot of people use, although it's having some issues with the latest releases in 2020 and 2021 to import different information from Excel or CSV into QuickBooks. Just trying to gather some information on if anybody uses any of these. Yeah, if it's none of the above. Okay, so I hope I got to jog your brain a little bit today. If you guys do have any tips on, you know, what you would like to see on a commission report, commission reports, we do commissions by 1, 2, 3, whatever it is, and you want to share those things, that'd be great. Obviously, the more data we have, the more we can, if we have 10 people who prefer a certain type of report, we can make those one of our templated reports in the future. Intuit, we do take this feedback as well to Intuit to make sure that they are aware, and, you know, I'm hoping one day to get some of these reports in as the templates that are preset. When you open QuickBooks Advanced Reporting for the first time, you can see here any of the ones that are marked as S, those are standard reports. Any of the ones that don't say S are ones that we have as templates that we provide to customers. And so they wouldn't say S, but I would love to be able to get some of these commission reports to be standard for people when they buy QuickBooks Enterprise. So if you have any idea on your own reports that you would like, definitely let us know. If you are interested, let me hop on back over to my PowerPoint here to finish us up. Go through super fast here. And you can see if you guys are interested in the PowerPoint, it does have copies of the reports, so you can dive in deeper there. So if you are interested in getting a free report because you have QuickBooks Enterprise, definitely reach out to us and let us know, or put free report in the chat. If you are in need of a commissions report or help building a commissions report, put need report in the chat there as well. I really hope that you guys had some takeaways today on what's possible to get to in QuickBooks Enterprise. I know commission reporting, if you think about it, I know everybody says, I don't want to upgrade to Enterprise, but if you think about how much time it takes to generate commission reports, especially if you're doing commissions every 2 weeks, like we see in a lot of the trades industries and construction industries, then time is everything, right? So if we can automate the generation of these reports, not only will it simplify your processes for, you know, if you ever need to take a vacation and somebody else needs to step in and generate the reports for you, but also, also for consistency, you know, doing things in Excel, it's very easy to delete a field and then mess up the calculations across the board. And when we're presenting payroll to our employees, especially their commissions, we want to be as accurate as possible. We don't want them to find mistakes. So having it generated automatically is truly very important. Well, let me go ahead and look through a couple more questions here before we sign off, but I really appreciated everybody for attending today. We had a huge turnout for the end of the year, so that's amazing. So let's see if I can grab a couple more questions before the end of the hour. One says, I'm moving a customer from a legacy database system to QuickBooks Enterprise. Do you set up financial reports in the advanced reporting area as well? So we tend to use QuickBooks as much as possible, right? When we go through and get somebody set up in an outside system, if we can get to the report inside of QuickBooks, we're going to drive them there first. However, as a lot of you guys know, right, sometimes memorized reports, there can be issues with them loading or just being blank when you run them. So those kind of things won't be happening in QuickBooks Advanced Reporting. So we try to use what's available inside of QuickBooks as much as possible first. Let's see. Let me see. Can the commissions base be sales dollars collected instead of sales dollars invoiced? So basically based on a cash basis. Yeah, what we would do, so this isn't part of the template, right? We would have to modify the template for you. But that total sales number would not be based on what has been invoiced. It would be based on, let me close out of this, stop stinging at me. It would be based off of receipt of payment, right, instead. So instead of, you can still call it total sales, but it would be based off of a different transaction type. So receipt of payment would be how we would set that up most likely. Let's do one more. Does the total sales field subtract out discounts? So there are two different things that you could do with that. You could have it preset in the logic to not include discount items or other items, right? So shipping, freight, things like that. Or you could have that as a filter along the side of what do you want to include and what do you not want to include. Okay. You could also subtotal. So I could subtotal by items that are of a particular type and then items that are discounts, right? So I could subtotal by item type. Here, let me go ahead. Well, I don't have time to do it, but I could subtotal by item type, right? And then show that those particular item types don't get a commission rate or don't get a commission, but it might be nice for the sales rep to be able to see, you know, how much did I give away in discounts or how much did I mean, discounts, hopefully you'd want to include in this because then it's taken away from the sales dollars, right? It's kind of like it's a contra sales. But the things like other charge, like shipping and stuff like that, you might not want to include. You might want to subtotal it to show them what they are not being paid a commission on as well. So, all right, guys, I hope you had a great time today. I definitely did. If you guys need anything, reach out to me, Marjorie at Fourlane.com, if you have any questions, and I hope to see you on future webinars. That's it for me.
All right, and sorry about that. With that, we're getting ready to wrap up with today's webinar. We here at CPA Academy will process your credit later today. That'll be available in your CPA Academy accounts within 24 hours. Everyone will have an opportunity for a full webinar evaluation, and those links to the evaluation are available in your CPA Academy accounts as well as your email. Thanks again to our wonderful presenter, Marjorie, for a great presentation today. And thank you to all of you in the audience for joining us. We urge you to take a look at your CPA Academy My Account page and see all of the resources that we've made available to you there, and take a look at the other fantastic webinars we're able to offer. We hope to see you all on future webinars and have a great rest of your day. Thanks for joining us.